Health professionals, you. Any questions so far? Microbiology and all these things. I can't even spell that. I can spell dentistry, but that's all. Any questions so far? None, right? It's so simple. 2 Corinthians 11, verse 3, the devil stole what from me? The simplicity that was in Christ. All right, I'll pray, and we'll get...
So for the questions, just write them down. Then at the end of the sessions, we'll have a Q&A. So write down all the questions that you'd like to ask. Huh?
Q&A.
Yeah.
I've got my questions for Jesus. When I see him, I'm going to say, why would you save a wretch like me? What will he say? So I love you, Lord. Second great commandment, love your neighbor as yourself. In Jamaica a few years ago, my wife and I were having a little school. We were going out to teach a class or something. I said, Darlene, you pray for us. So Darlene said a prayer she'd never said before. She said, God, give us a love for the people here in Jamaica. Is that a good prayer? That's a nice prayer. So we're about to start. I'll pray. Father in heaven, bless us as we go into some interesting subjects. Ask in Jesus' name. Amen. So any computer scientist here? No? But everybody knows about computers here, right? Input, output. Physically, are you what you eat physically? Because when the food stream imparts nutrients through the villi into semi-impermeable membrane in the small intestine and it goes into the bloodstream back to the liver, are you what you eat? Yes. Anybody understand the Krebs? Can anybody explain the Krebs cycle? Raise your hand. Something you don't know. Neither do I. It's good to be in Kenya. Now, spiritually, are you what you eat? Let's ask Job. Job 31, verse 1, I made a covenant with my eyes. Why should I think upon a maiden? Job said, what you put in your eyes, you think about. Spiritually. Now, we're ready to begin. Computer science. When I had a computer class 40 years ago, the teacher came out and he said, the first law of computer science. Now, when I do this, it means you answer, right? The first law of computer science. Garbage in? Now, I'm not saying the brain's a computer. I'm not saying the brain's a computer. But I'm saying there's some similarities. True? There's some similarities. Now, truth versus brain function. Is there a connection? I like to study the connection, and from here for the next 40, 50 minutes, nothing Christian in what we're going to say. This is a message to reach the Muslims, the Hindus, and the Buddhists. We leave Christ out and bring the truth in. You say, John 14:6, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. Sanctify them through thy word. John 17:17, thy word is truth. How can you leave God out and talk about truth? Oh, it's very simple. Because truth is truth. Would you agree? So, brain function and truth. Before we start, there's a saying in the world today, all is relative. When I was in Guinea, West Africa working, some men had 4, some had 5 wives. In Tennessee, how many wives do we have? How many do you have in Kenya? Try to have one. But I get on the plane in Tennessee, 1 wife. I get off the plane in Guinea, 5 wives. I get on the plane in Guinea, I go to Paris, 5 wives are okay. 1 legal, 4 on the side. I go to, they say it's all what? Relative. Truth depends on location. That's geology, right? Is that confusing? Because to find out what's right and wrong, I've got to find out what country I'm in. Is there an objective right and wrong? Is there an objective truth? How do you know what it is? Where's your standard for saying this is right and this is wrong? Where's your standard? Where's your standard? Say it. Right, wait a minute. What if you're talking to a Buddhist? Right path, right think. My wife was a Buddhist. Right, you know. What are you talking to a Hindu? The Bible? Mm-mm, no good. We're talking to a Jainist or an atheist. I was an atheist. Don't bring that Bible in here. So now the truth without the Bible. What is truth? Next question, is that truth? If that plus that is not that, then what is that plus that? Is that truth? Does it exist in an objective form outside my brain? I can take my finger and say that's truth. You agree? I think by the time we finish, we're not going to agree. Maybe. Maybe not. Now, in Tennessee, in the winter, it's cold. I went to see a man who was we have a certain dialect in Tennessee. It sounds like this. Oh, ain't no such thing. That's how we talk in Tennessee. He was fixing something. I was talking to him. I said, boy, it's hot today. Should be cold, but it's hot. I said, must be global warming. He looked at me. No, ain't no such thing. Either he was right or I was. Would you agree? Either it is or it isn't. And what you think does not change what is. May I say, your perspective does not change the truth. True? Doesn't matter what you think. Well, the bridge, the flood, the bridge was washed out. But you think it's still in. You drive across the bridge and you die. Doesn't matter. Your perspective does not change what is. That's number 2. Now, number 3, how many jelly beans in a jar? Do some fancy algebraic summation. How many jelly beans in a jar? How many? No, not 50. She got it, 50. Your prize is, guess what? Now, those are bad for you. 50. Now, here's the problem. It was only a guess. Would you stake your life on a guess? No way. Now, yeah, it's guesswork. Truth is not guesswork. Well, you may be right, maybe you're not. No, truth. I'm talking about a certainty this is true. You ever heard of Starbucks? Starbucks is known for the high price. And their good coffee. I don't drink coffee. I'm a reformer. I don't drink coffee. So I go to Starbucks, $4.50 for a cup of Starbucks coffee. And I tell the man, I don't drink coffee. We have orange juice. I'm with a friend. Man, with Andy maybe. Andy says, orange juice. I say, are you buying? He says, yes. I say, I'll have some. There's my orange juice. I drink it. It's pretty good. He says, a second cup. Who's paying? You are? I'll take one. There's a second cup. As I get ready to drink it, somebody distracts me. I look away, and guess what? Somebody pours rat poison in my coffee. But I look at it. Looks good, smells good, tastes good. I drink it down. What happens to me? Say it louder. No. But wait. I was sincere. No, I was sincere. What happens to me? I'm now sincerely dead. You ever read this? No. Sincerity doesn't mean anything in the science of truth. Now, James 4:17, to him that knoweth to do right doeth not sin. I'm not talking about sin. I'm talking about truth. I'm dead. Now, 3 steps to getting well, and we're all sick to an extent. If you want to change your actions, you must change how you, if you want to change how you think, how do you change what comes out of your brain? Change what? Garbage in, garbage out. Now, this is my formula this morning. How does it get into your brain? The 5 senses, right? If you have not seen a flower, if you're blind from birth, you can't describe a red rose. If you've never heard cursing and swearing, you can't curse and hear. It has to go in before it comes out, right? So there are the 5 senses. That's how it gets in. Now, look at that for 3 seconds. 1001, 1002, 1003. Question, is that real life or television? No, real life or television? Is that Hollywood movie or is that Afghanistan? Moses says Afghanistan. Are you sure? No, are you positive? I know. I say don't be too positive. Is it possible he's wrong? Yes. Because it's only a guess. Real life or television? No, real life or television? You're not sure, right? Real life or television? Television. I'm sure. Are you? Real life or television? Okay. Because there's no RoboCop, right? Would you agree? Next question. By the way, video games have changed a lot in the last 20 years. Is it possible somebody can play violent war video games day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year? Can you be addicted to that? Yes. Can you play violent video games and after a time, a week, a month, a year, can it make you more aggressive, belligerent, combative, angry? Can it change how you think? Next question. How can looking at something you know is not true have a true impact on your mind? How can looking at something you know is not real have a real influence in how you act? That's the question. Now somebody answer. Silence. Habakkuk 2:20, let all the earth keep what? Silence. No, this is not his temple. How? Are you health professionals? How? That what say it? What? It, what?
It's not till it's going to come up.
Yeah. Okay. Is that a hand? Go ahead.
The mind cannot differentiate between reality and
Thank you. That's it. Thank you. Now we'll prove that. The mind can't tell the difference. Now, my dear brother, you and I both, we choose what we put into the mind. But once it goes in, like the orange juice, then you have no choice. You choose to put it in, but once it's in, no choice. Because the mind cannot distinguish between what's true and what's not. Everything it sees, it responds as if it's true. Now we prove it. Yeah, thank you. What's your name, brother? Ennis. Nice to meet you. So this is, we have the weekly shootings in America now. 10 people shot this week, 10 people shot next week, 20 people shot. It's the weekly shooting. We turn on CNN to see who's got shot this week. Last week they shot where? YouTube. Week before where? Florida. Week before there, Texas. Week before that, next week, America's waiting. Where are they going to shoot next? Right? That's America. This is where they shot when, now, the common thread in most of these people that are killing folks is that. His friend never showed signs of aggression or violence, but he played a lot of these war video games. Can that shape how you think? Yes. And anybody know who that is? Who is this? Arnold Schwarzenegger. I was, I don't know if this may not work in Kenya. You know who he is, all right? I was, we had a patient. I was talking to him. I always say, where do you go to school? What are you doing? And it's like I ask Sandra, right? Sandy, Jane, Sally. What was it? Tell me again. Nancy. I knew that. I was just checking you. Nancy. I was talking to this man, and I said, well, what kind of work do you do? I teach. No, I used to be a teacher. You're not teaching anymore? No. Then he said, I was governated. Now that's a word. The governor of California was that man. He got rid of some workers, and they called it being governated. But when I saw Arnold Schwarzenegger last, he was the who? The Terminator. Can you see the subtitle? That's a good Seventh-day Adventist title, right? Judgment Day. I used to have a motorcycle like that. In the movie, Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, that's the last movie I went to, by the way. In the movie, he's being chased by 50 men on motorcycles. He's reaching out and grabbing each one and doing this. The people in the theater are doing this. Can't stay awake. Bored to death. Is that what they're doing? Okay. Are their bronchial tubes dilating? Are their pupils dilating? Is blood flow being shut down to the pancreas and spleen and being increased to the arms and the legs? Are there hormones being changed and released into the bloodstream? Is the blood pressure going up? All these changes, physiologically responses, is all this taking place in my body? Yes. Do I know it's the Austrian bodybuilder? Yes. How do you explain it? What my brother said. The brain can't tell the difference. Would you agree? Now, the brain, let me say it this way. The brain is the film. The lens are the eyes. And what you choose to put into your eyes shapes how you think. So if you want to transform your mind, if you want a mind shift, you have to change what you see, hear, taste, touch, and smell, the reforms. Reforms are the visible part of the Christian life. Diet, what you eat, dress, association, recreation, education, everything you see, those are the reforms. And we don't like to talk about them. Don't you tell me what to eat. Don't you tell me how to dress. Don't you tell me how to educate. Don't you tell me. And God says, okay, have thine own way. And will never be transformed. Are you saying, no, I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying what you put into your mind shapes how you think. 2 Corinthians 3:18, the Bible says the same thing. Now, anybody recognize this guy? Who is he? Israel. I was actually riding in a truck with Andy. He's a friend of mine. We did a camp meeting in Ukraine. I did mental health. He did what? Music. I'm not advocating Christian Berdahl as some kind of expert. I'm going to play something because something he played I want to play. But Christian Berdahl, now, we don't have a lot of volume here, but try to be quiet and listen to what, it's a minute and a half long. Christian Berdahl has a music ministry. He used to be an actor and a singer in California, Hollywood. He's now a Seventh-day Adventist. What I'm going to show you was at the International ASI convention. He was invited there by the officials, sanctioned by the church, and this is what he shared on the subject of music. And when he gets to it, when I do this, that means this is why I played it. When I do that. You hear a little bit, right? Sorry.
Now, this is very interesting. This is an article called High Tech and the Low Frequencies. Reporter Jason Sneed wrote about the huge club and DJ scene, and he wrote about DJ Lauren, or AKA
Bass
Bass
Nectar.
Nectar. Bass Nectar represents the wave of DJ success, playing amazing sets to dance floors throughout North America and beyond. Bass Nectar shows have the future primitive feel of all-out revelry resulting from the tribal unity of audience involvement. Basically what he's saying here is when this guy plays his mixes, it goes tribal. Now, let's listen. This will amaze you. Remember this voodoo clip?
This is the devil worship service in Haiti.
Play
That's
that
the
one.
worship service.
Our second. I was putting the seminar together with the Lord's direction, I have a piece of audio editing software called Pro Tools. And I had one track, and I put in this clip right here. And this is Bass Nectar's music.
This is the club in Las Vegas.
This is club stuff. Right? Done all that stuff. So, well, think about this. How many clubs do you think play Mozart? Well, why not? Because Mozart leaves your brain intact. So God said this, play this music. Now, on another track, put that voodoo over it and see what happens. And does it line up? On point.
Modern?
Modern voodoo.
My point is this. If you go to a club in Las Vegas to hear bass nectar, and by the way, we won't argue about this, that's the same music, right? One played over the other, it's the same music. There was a student in our music class at my place. I played voodoo music for the music class, and she said, her name was, remember her name, she was from Africa. She said, Otete, I can't remember her name. She said, I have a concern about you playing voodoo music in the class. I said, I have a concern too. But I play it because once you hear it, that's it, right? It's the same. You go into the club in Las Vegas to hear bass nectar. What he's playing is the music. It's the same as a devil worship service in Haiti. Is the influence the same in the club as it is in the devil worship service? Yes. You take somebody putting rap and hip hop and reggae and all these things and rock in their mind 2 or 3 hours a day, does it shape how you think? And you say, don't tell me what kind of music to listen to. I say, I don't want to. Let God tell you. But I do say, what music you do listen to will shape how you think. Want it? Yeah. Music is the idol of a whole lot of us. We make an idol out of the music. Can music be your idol? Yes. Can it be addictive? Yes. Can it shape your thinking? Yes. I like music, don't you? Yes. What kind of music do you like? And it's your choice. Your choice. Is music a very powerful tool in the hand of God or the devil? Both. I tell you, when I was Andy's age, Sonny, when I was your age, back then we didn't have rap, hip hop, and all that. We didn't have that. We had rock and roll. You know rock and roll, right? I was a big rocker. His speakers would shake the house. I went to Wildwood Seventh-day Adventist Church. I'd never been to church. Never saw a man pray. Never heard a sermon. I was an atheist, Babylonian, worldly person times 10. First time in church, I went and sat on the back row. I had hair like this, had a big cross earring, had a, I was on the back row like this. First time in church. I was on the back row. I thought nobody would see me. It's the Wildwood Hospital Church. Everybody knew I was on the back row. And the preacher, I never heard a preacher, he got up and he said, we're going to have a special music. What's that? And a girl got up to sing. Anybody, you ever heard that song, The Holy City? And Jerusalem, Jerusalem. You ever heard that song? This is a song, right? I sat there in my chair. A girl got up and sang that song. And when she got to the part that the light of God was on its streets, its gates were open wide, and all who would might enter in, and no one was denied. God spoke to my heart. I walked out of that church and never listened to the rock and roll again because I had found something better. And everybody has their struggles. Some struggle with music. Some struggle with the eyes, pornography. Some struggle with the appetite, right? We got different struggles. But I say probably everybody here struggles with something. But all I'm saying, what we put in has a bearing on our mind shift. That's all. Let me just show you one or two more. This is what I used to listen to. This is where I went. Rolling Stones? Is that Mick Jagger? Now, Mick Jagger sings about the devil. Because he loves who? The devil. He loves the devil's music, and he sings about the devil. And he tells you, I worship who? He's honest. He's not a hypocrite. He's not a Pharisee. The ability to sing, and God didn't give me that gift in abundance, but God gave me the gift to sing. Now, the health professionals, you get 2 pages. Can you read both pages at once? 2 phones. Can you talk on both phones at once? No. God built you. 1 sound, 1 sight. That's all you can put in. Right? Yeah. God gave me 2 eyes to see, 2 ears to hear, 1 mouth to do what? Sing His praises. I use it for God or use it for the Devil, can music be a very strong addiction? Yes. 25 years I've been working with people that have been addicted to music. And one more, and then we leave music. The groups when I was young, Black Sabbath and Seventh Day Slumber. What are they singing about? Seventh day. Yeah, seventh day. You know what their music sounds like? Now, research polls, the creme de la creme, the aristocracy of researchers, Pew. They did some research, and this is a post-PC device, right? Who has one? Does anybody not have one? Yeah. No. 68%, 7 out of 10 Americans have post-PC devices. Can you believe this? 75% of American children under 8 have smartphone. Can you believe that? Next question. What can you see on a smartphone? You can see? Now, I don't know what she's looking at. No, all right. But we can agree. No, we can agree. Whatever she sees is shaping her mind. Now, social media. Can you be addicted to that? And write on down. Media is not the subject. My subject is mind shift. This has a part to play. Now, next is environmental factors. I blew it up so you could read it. During most of the 20th century, I blew it up so you could read it. During most of the 20th century, leading scientists theorized. Now, this comes into medical microbiology. This is brain physiology. This is science. This is anatomy. Most of the 20th century, leading scientists theorized, I'll make it very simple, that when you came out of childhood, you could no longer replace damaged brain cells. People used to think that. Nobody thinks that anymore, right? So I was an alcoholic. I killed 50 billion brain cells. Can they be replaced? Can they? Well, the new research. This is the new research. Let me back up. Let me back up. It was generally understood that neurons could not be added to the brain after earliest childhood. However, like recent research, many neuroscientists, they changed their minds. A lot of it is discovery of the glial cell and the processes they call neurogenesis, nerve cells, genesis, creation of new nerve cells. But I use this because the subject for the next 5 minutes is environment. Can where you live shape how you think? That's the question. Coming out of Yale University and Harvard, Ronald Newman, professor of psychiatry and pharmacology at Yale University, and an expert on depression. Now let me pause a second. Don't look at that for a moment. When people are depressed, is it good to have circulation? Is circulation good? So research shows you're depressed, circulation goes down. Is it good to make new brain cells? Yes. People that are very depressed, their rate at which they make new brain cells goes where? Yes. Down. An expert on the depression studies the molecular and cellular changes caused by stress as well as the use of antidepressants. 2001 report published in the Journal of Pharmacology and Experimental Therapeutics concluded, and this is what they saw, decreased rates of if you had stress, the neurogenesis, the cell proliferation went down. That's all. Keep that in mind. Now, this is a monkey. That's a thumb over there. You could put 2 in my pocket. If you're a layperson, we say pygmy monkey. If you're a professional and trained, you say marmoset. So these are the marmosets. What they did, they took a group of marmosets. Gould from Yale did the study. It's very short, very simple, and it illustrates the point very well. Gould and her co-workers studied the brains of adult marmosets. Some of the animals were housed in large enclosures that featured natural vegetation and encouraged foraging. Others were, some were housed in that, some were housed in that. Where would you want to be? Now, let's put a name on there. Let me back up. He's the wrong button. Give me a name for that. That's a symbolic name for this. We'll call this the What do we call that? Cage. One call it jail. Is that okay? Cage is okay, but I've been in jail. It's a cage. What are we going to call this? What? Come on. Would you say country living? Okay. Well, if we call that country living, we have to call this what? Nairobi. Is that okay? Is that okay? Nairobi. And, so they took the marmosets, divided them in two. Put part in the country, put part in Nairobi. They took them out, they measured cell proliferation in the cells. And guess what they found? Nobody said anything. When the team compared the brains of animals from each group, they reported finding dramatic differences in structural plasticity. That means something changed in the brains. The marmosets, they were used to the more complex environments, were found not only to have more connections between neurons, but also to have a higher rate of cell proliferation. Can environment make a difference? Now, these some of you understand these words, right? Random, randomized, double-blind control groups, randomized studies. This was a highly scientific study. So they took the two groups and did what with them? They took the two groups and switched them. When the caged animals were transferred from their bleak environment to the more natural and rich setting, did it change their brain function? No. There's a question. The only thing they did, they took the monkey out of a cage, walked 27 feet and put it in a different cage, and everything in their brain changed. Does environment make a difference? Luke 17:32, remember Lot's what? Wife. Did it make a difference being in Sodom? It makes a difference. You talk about mind shift and transformation. Your environment has a profound effect on how you think. Would you agree? Give me the science we did. Now, much remains to be discovered as researchers continue their studies in this fascinating field. Where should the sanitarium be established? God is very clear on that, and this is why. Where should the schools and the publishing house be established? In the country. We are sanctioned to put restaurants and churches in the city, and that's all. Is there a reason for that? Oh, yeah. Where did Enoch live? Did he go to the city? And when he got there, what did he do? Yeah, let's go to the country. He called them out. That's our message. Now, question. Our message, 14:6, Revelation, I saw another angel flying in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting what? Gospel. Then you get the three messages. Verse 7, fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is what? Come. Verse 8, the wine of Babylon. Verse 9, the plagues are coming if you get drunk on the wine. Is the call to come out of Babylon a call to come out of the cities of Babylon? Can you give the message if you don't follow it? It's great. Isn't the truth great? Come on, isn't truth good? Isn't truth good? Truth transforms your mind. The law of the Lord is perfect, converting. Psalms 19, verse 7, converting. There's nothing else to change it but the truth. John 17:17, sanctify them through the what? Truth, thy word is truth. The changing power is in God's word. Faith comes by hearing, Romans 10:17, and hearing by what? The word of God. That is where the power is. Matthew 4, man does not live by bread alone. Verse 4, but by what? Every word that comes down. Why? It's the bread that came down from heaven, John 6:35. God, that's what changes us, the truth. You got to love truth or you can't go to heaven because there's nothing up there but what? Truth. Yeah, God's good. Come on, he took me out of the beer joint, took me out of the jail, I had the worst marriage, and he did something for me. Don't you love Mrs. White? Don't you love those books? Desire of Ages, Patriarchs and Prophets, Prophets and Kings, Great Controversy, Acts of the Apostles. Don't you love those books? Somebody says, I'm poor, can't go to theology school. Dear friends, all you need to do, get the Bible. I've never had a class on anything. I get the Bible, you get those 5 books, and you read them together. That's the best theology school on planet Earth. There's nothing better. And let me say one other thing. Because your danger is the health professional. You get degreed up, certified, licensed, and you put your trust in that. Dear friends, God can take anybody, anywhere, at any time, and do anything with them, And what your credentials do not matter a hoot in hell with God. That is the fact. Can he take Joseph and put him over Egypt? Can he take Mordecai and take him out of the gate and put him? Can he take, yeah, God can still do the same thing. Is it good to have education? Yeah, praise the Lord. If you make that your idol, then you're going to hell, and that's not what you want to get educated for. It doesn't take an education to go to hell. Does it? Am I for education? If you come out of your education more like Christ than before you went in, I'm for it. If you come out less, I'm against it. How about you? Nobody said anything. You know I love you, though. It's so good to be in Nairobi. That enriched by kindness and caring. This is extrapolation, right? You take the results of the study, you project it on the future. If this bad environment does bad things to the brain, a good environment does good things to the brain. Now, I'm going to try to illustrate something using Americans. The trend is people are moving to the country or to the city. That's how many people in the States now live in the country. Almost nobody. Here's a world graph, right? The world. Since the 50s, people are migrating where? Into the cities. Is that true in Kenya? That's true in the States too. Same thing. We're all going into New York City, Los Angeles, and all these places. Okay, pretty good, right? Now, but the problem is, if you go out of the sanitarium and you're in the country, you tell me, it's the sanitarium, I go outside, I close my ears, what do I open my eyes in the country, what do I see? Trees. Our health center, you see trees. Now, close your eyes, open your ears, what do I hear? Birds. Those are what kind of sounds? Natural, natural sounds. I live in New York City. I go out in Harlem. What do I see? Worse than that. Come on, what do I see? Thank you, buildings. Pastor Leon, these buildings. Close my eyes, what do I hear? Come on, friends. Gunshots and sirens. You never been there? Yeah. Now, natural versus made by God, made by man. You have some life in the cities is, and if you live in a false and artificial environment, you begin to think how? False and artificial. And that is the danger of living in a city. It's a call to come out of Babylon and into the country. So I want to read you a couple statements and study why. Life in the cities is that's my tent, I'm inside, right? I open my tent, what do I see? Psalms 19 verse 1, the heavens declare what? And not day unto day uttereth, you know the rest of it, right? You see things in nature. God told John the Baptist, get where? Out. Did John go? Yes. Where was he at? Luke 180, in the desert. Until he's showing forth unto Israel. Yeah, now, listen. As long as God gives me power to speak, died in 1915, right? Power to speak, I shall continue to call upon parents to leave the cities and get homes in the country where they can, number one, grow food. And then number two, learn from the book of nature the lessons of purity and simplicity. The things of nature are the Lord's silent minister given to us to teach us spiritual truths. Now, next question. You know the story, right? Genesis 18:19, when Jesus is going to Sodom to destroy it, who's with him? Who's with him? How many? 2. He pays a stop. He visits who before he goes to Sodom? Abraham. Jesus drops off. The angels go in alone, right? When the angels get to Sodom, what do the people in Sodom want to do to the angels? Sodomize them. That's what you call a gang rape on the angels. If Christ were with them, what would they want to do to Christ? Yeah, gang rape Christ. Now that's the kind of place Lot did not want to what? Leave. Can you be desensitized by your surroundings and environment? Is this part of the overall subject of mind shift and brain transformation? That's why I study it. There are probably 50 parts, but this is one. And then Sodom and Gomorrah, it shapes how you think. When Lot left Sodom, his wife, Luke 17:32, did what? Looked back. And then she turned into a what? Pillar of salt. But the children went with Lot. Lot told God, let me go to Zoar. He's hard-headed. And then next question, there is Lot with his children. They had babies. Now, who was the father? Who was the father? Who was the grandfather? Lot. Where did the girls learn to think like that? As long as God gives me breath, I call the parents to take their daughters out of, because that's where you learn. Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain and pitched his tent towards Sodom. Lot was made miserable as he what you hear, see, taste, touch, and smell, because it shapes how you think. Right? Pretty simple. And yet he didn't want to leave. He lingered. The angels had to drag him out. This is not a study on Lot and Sodom. This is a study on mind shift. Now, physical factors, take a 5-minute break. Let me check the clock here. What I'm going to do is take a 5-minute break, go 25 minutes, 5-minute break, and I want to finish with science and the dangers and pitfalls of being a scientist. Medical microbiology and dentistry and paleontology and anthropology and all these dangers involved in science. My smiling sister back there. So 5 minutes, and I'm going to start back. I want to start back on time because I want to be done by 1 o'clock, okay?